Greetings, YouTube model train people. I've got another decoder video install. This time I have got 3 lifelike Proto F3 units. I've got an A, B, and an A. I will be using just basic Digitrax decoders, wired decoders, and I will be adding Details West rotary beacons with these Minitronics lights on the A units. Also, the A units will be getting the number boards lit up, and I'll be putting in classification lights, which I use these Details Associates clear lenses. And to light those up, I have some surface mount LEDs I picked up off of eBay. These are just warm white. These are dual color. They're both warm white and red. So let's get started. All right, here I've got one of the A units out of the box. I skipped the unboxing. I assume you're familiar with how a box operates. And to get the shell off these, on the A units you have to take the coupler off, for which you need a Phillips screwdriver. Like that. And then you pull apart on the bottoms here. And thus the shell comes off. So before I dive into the decoder install, one thing I always do, but usually don't show in my videos, is I test the mechanism to make sure it's working properly first. To do that, I just have this wall wart here that's like 9 volts DC, of course, and I will just make sure it's working. I bring this up because on this particular, all 3 of these had broken axle gears in here, so I actually stopped and made a separate video. I will link that up above or below, wherever it ends up on the screen. I decided to make it a separate video to keep the length of this down. It's kind of a little bit off topic too, so get going with the decoder install. All right, so one of the first things I'm going to have to do here on the decoder is access a couple. This only has 4 function wires coming out of it, and I'm going to actually use 5 light functions. And so if you look at the directions here, I'm going to need to solder a wire for function number 3 onto this pad. It's numbered function 3 because it goes 0F, 0R, 1, 2, 3, 4 are the numbers. So I'm going to start. So I think this is the, see that here? I think this is the one I want right here. Let me double check that. backwards. It's weird, it's different from, if you look at their diagram here, it's actually backwards. It's like that. So I want, well, technically it doesn't matter. I guess I want this bottom one here. Yeah, so I want this one right here. So the B unit, I'm not going to use any of the wires on, I won't use any of the function wires for the B unit. So I'm going to go ahead and just grab one of these. Steal one of these off here. It's going to be a little bit tricky to solder this since it's so small. Go ahead and tin that first. Okay, looks good. Okay, so this light board, actually, if you look closely here, has provisions if you want to use DCC. You just cut this trace right here. This connects, this is the rail. This is one side of the motor. And this trace right here is, let's see, this would be the other side of the rail. And this is, that would be, that's the headlight. So there's two ways you could go about doing this. Do like this. I think that's what I'm going to do. Or if you wanted to, you could just ditch this entire light board and then just rewire all this up. Yeah, it's 6 to 1/2 a dozen the other. Maybe I'll do the B unit. I'll just take this whole thing out and show you how to do it that way. But for this one anyway, I'm going to get a little bigger utility knife, and then I'm going to scrape through this trace right here, and once again right here. All right, so get that on camera. A Dremel tool would be ideal for doing this. Okay, that should be good. Let me grab my ohm meter here and check for sure. So I've got an ohm meter here set on continuity. It's set to, is it? No, sorry. Okay. Good. And good. The decoder is just going to kind of set right here. So okay, so I've got it all hooked up here. If you can see what I did, go through these one at a time. red, which is one side of the track, is right here. Orange, which is one side of the motor, goes here. Black, which is the other side of the track, goes here. Gray, which is the other side of the motor, goes here. And then blue, the common, to here. And then I brought another wire off of that because there'll be more lights to come. And then white for the headlight goes right to here. Now, this is number 200. The other A unit, this is going to be, I'm going to call this the head front unit. So when I have multiple unit setups like this that are always going to be run together, I typically don't use the DCC advanced features for consisting those together. I just find it easier to program them all with the same decoder number ID. And what I will do on the back A unit, so the B unit and the front A unit will be wired like this. And then on the back B unit, I will switch the orange and the gray. That way it runs this direction will be the standard direction of travel, and I will switch the yellow and the white headlight wires. That way I can use the same, I will program them all with the exact same CVs, the same tune file, whatever you want to call it, will be used for all three units. And there won't be any difference between the A and B. I mean, the front A and the rear B. I just wire it backwards so it goes the opposite direction. Okay, with everything wired up, I have it here on the programming track to test if it works right. I have Decoder Pro running on the computer, and I am going to hit identify. And nothing happens. Oh. Okay, so after about 15 minutes of trying to figure out why this wasn't working, I realized that I missed a cut right here. You have to cut this trace. I'm really lucky I didn't fry the decoder. That was incredibly stupid. So watch this video and learn from my mistakes. Yeah, there are 3 cuts you have to make. This one, and that one right there. Now it does work. If I hit identify, it's clicking here and it correctly identifies it as the decoder. So, and this is why you test first on the programming track and not on the full power track. If I had put that on the full power track, it probably would have fried the decoder. So, whew. Yeah, do as I do. Do as I say, not as I do on that one. Now I will go ahead and try it on the power track and see that it works properly. Okay, so it seems to run. Okay, so now it works. Unfortunately, the headlight is really dim. I can get the camera to zoom in on it. It's only getting about 1 volt. I'm gonna have to figure out what the deal is with that. That's not gonna do. But at least it does work now. That's a huge relief. Okay, so I have made the headlight significantly brighter by I bypassed the factory 300 ohm resistor with a 200 ohm, and I basically connected one side of it to here, and then this wire was hooked to right here. I disconnected from there, moved it to here, just bypassing all of this junk here. So that seems to have made it quite a bit brighter. There it is. It's quite a bit brighter now. Okay, I've got the B unit all wired up here. It's virtually the same as the A unit, it's just there's no light. So there's really only 4 wires to connect. Red, one side of the track goes right here. Black, the other side of the track here. Orange, one side of the motor here. Gray, other side of the motor here. And I actually attached the decoders with a little bit of double-sided foam tape, just so they're, not flopping around in there. Probably isn't necessary, but okay, so on this A unit, this is going to be the rear A unit, I will just completely remove the factory light board. So there are 2 screws holding that on. And then these little black clips just slide off like that. Okay, so I've got the decoder all wired up here. I'll run through all the connections, starting right here with the black, which goes to this side of the track pickup, and then down here also to that side. The red is basically the same. The side of the track pickup over here, the side here, then the motor, orange and gray, and then the headlight, blue, and then I have an extra blue wire here for the rest of the lights, and then a 200 ohm resistor to the yellow wire. And that should do it. Okay, so after checking everything out on the programming track, it seems to work. I mounted the decoder down with some double-sided foam tape and used some zip ties to tie up the wires together. And then these are all the wires that are going to come off and go to the lights in the shell. And that'll be the next part of the video. Okay, so here we go with the classification lights. Now these have some molded on lights here. I'm gonna have to take those out. I'm gonna need to drill that out. To get it started, I'm gonna use my X-Acto blade here and get that started right in the very center. This is tricky. I'm actually gonna have to use my magnifying glass here to see it a little closer. There. Okay, now that I've got that started, I can go ahead and come in with a drill. I need the magnifying glass. And this is what drill is this? It's a number 42 drill. Okay, so got a pretty decent hole drilled there. Do a little bit of cleanup. There we go. Okay, I'm going to use white glue to attach that. I'm afraid if I use super glue or plastic glue, it'll fog the clear plastic. A little white glue. Okay, that doesn't look too bad. I can clean up a little bit of that glue there once it dries. It'll scrape right off. All right, so... All right, I just need to do that 3 more times. Okay, so now I have got the surface mount LEDs I'm going to be using. I got these off eBay. I'll put a link in the description below, although the chances are they came from China, so you may or may not be able to find this exact thing. Basically, what you're looking for is you want to get common anode. That's the most important thing if you're getting a bicolor LED. It's got to be common anode, otherwise it would be really tricky to use with a decoder. So these are red and warm white. And I'm going to use a 10k ohm resistor here with a mostly discharged 9-volt battery. I think I measured it about 6 volts, but just for testing purposes here, I am going to... So the main thing I have to do is figure out which wire goes to which. Now, one of these is a little bit longer, and I believe that's the anode, so I'm going to start trying that. And these wires are so tiny, they're really difficult to deal with. Okay, so let me see if I can get this in. You see that there? Okay. Now we'll see what I've got here. Okay, there's white. And there's red. Red and white. So I'm going to mark those with a little piece of tape, which is which. Okay, so I've got these figured out which wire is which. Now, the next job I've got, and this is a significant one, is getting these things mounted in here. You can't even see that. Basically, I want to glue this onto there. I kind of want the wire to come back. This is gonna be a job. Kind of want to glue it. It's not even on camera. I kind of want to glue it on like that. And then I'm going to fill around it with black putty. All right, it's hard to get this on camera, but I did get the two surface mount LEDs kind of mounted and glued up in there. I had to use the black putty kind of to, how you focus? I had to kind of use the black putty to hold it in place while hopefully the glue dries. Yeah, it's like the super glue wants to stick to everything except what it wants to, I want it to stick to. Same with the black putty. Okay, so now I have some more little really tiny surface mount LEDs I'm going to use for the number boards. Now, tell there's any difference in these wires, so I don't know which one is plus, which one's minus. I have a 15k ohm resistor this time, so I'm going to test these just to see. Yep. Okay, so this one is plus. Okay, so I was kind of able to get it stuck in there. Oh man, it's so hard to show this. Using the putty, and now I am going to tape it in place. I don't think I'm going to be able to get this on camera though. Okay, so I managed to get the number board LEDs mounted behind the number boards, and I use that pieces of tape to hold them in place. Sorry, I was not able to get that on. Let's see if I can get it to focus here. I was not able to get it to focus. I was not able to get any of this on camera, but I do have it. I'll show you how I have it wired up. So, two of the wires from this number board LEDs are these two right here. This is a 15k ohm resistor, and that's temporarily hooked up here to the blue wire. I'll do this permanently when it's all over. And then the other two sides go down here to the green wire. If you can see that right there. So a tip on when you get those, if you go on eBay and buy those surface mount LEDs, don't get the ones that have this really, really tiny, this is almost like magnet wire. This stuff is extremely difficult to deal with. All the wire is fairly small, but this other, you can see, yeah, the slightly thicker wire there on the bottom is a heck of a lot easier to deal with than this really, really, really thin wire. Neither one of them is particularly fun though. Just FYI. Okay, so I've got it here on the track to try everything out. Okay, there's the headlight. The backup lights. Those are red if you can't tell. Doesn't look very red in the camera. And this should be the number boards. Yep, you see the other side. And this should be the class lights. No. This? There we go. And if you go in reverse, if you can, okay, only the rotary beacon left to go. That'll be next. Okay, so here I've got my Details West RB106 rotary beacons. Oops. So what I do is, here I've got my Minitronics light bulb, and I'm going to use white glue to hold this little cap on, just in case it ever needs to come off, and because it dries clear. Okay, once the glue has dried, holding the top part onto the light bulb, then I'm going to, okay, now that I've got the amber lens glued onto the light bulb, I'm going to glue this little part of the base onto there, once again using white glue. Just a small amount here. Okay, now, I don't know if you can see, but I'm also going to use some black paint and fill in this bottom here so light doesn't leak out through the bottom. Okay, so the next step is to drill a hole for the light to mount on the roof. I'm going to start off with the X-Acto knife. Perfectly centered up here. There doesn't seem to be any prototype location for these lights. I've seen photographs where they're mounted anywhere from all the way up here to like way back between the horns. A lot of times these horns aren't prototypical either. I think this stuff gets changed a lot. The lights didn't come on there from the factory, so it was probably each shop, did whatever when they added the light on it. And I model about 1960, so this engine's good 20, well, close to 20 years old. All right, so this I'm going to attach with a little bit of super glue. Okay, so now I've got it wired in. I wired one side of it, one side of the bulb into the blue wire back here with the rest of the blue wires, and the other side of the bulb to the purple or violet wire here. And I used a resistor, 430 ohm half watt resistor. Definitely want to use a half watt resistor. 430 ohms might be a little bit much. You might want to try your track voltage and test and see. With my track voltage is a little over 14 volts, and with the 430 ohm resistor, the light bulb was getting about 1.15 volts. It's a little on the dim side. It could be brighter. I don't know, maybe a 400 ohm resistor might be better, but this is all I've got, so that's what I'm going with. All right, I'm going to get it all put back together and go put it on the track. Well, congratulations if you made it this far in the video. Here's the final product. That's forward. This is reverse.